The grand platform was quiet, save the north wind, whose song was the ever-present temper of the storm-horn mountains. Crystal Song had vanished into the Eyrie, at last embraced by the sanctuary of her birthright. On Chrysola's orders, she had been escorted by 2 of the warriors to the Eyrie's healing halls. And now, with eyes as fierce as the peaks she called home, Chrysola turned her attention to Darkwood and Iris. Darkwood released Iris from his embrace, and, standing tall, met Chrysola and Morath on square footing.
"And how do you come upon an injured ethereal child?"
Chrysala asked. Her tone was not accusatory, yet it carried the weight of authority. Iris did not know who this commanding ethereal was, but it was clear she would brook neither silence nor deception. Her pink-kissed wings, slightly unfurled and catching the wind, fluttered softly as they towered over Iris, casting her into the fading shadows of the day's dying light.
"We discovered her along the Great North Road this morning, hiding in an elm grove,"
Darkwood replied. Iris was taken aback by Darkwood's voice. When they had first met, he had spoken with disdain, as though she were an inconvenience. As they had journeyed together over the past 2 days, and found an ease with one another, he had relaxed, his voice becoming light and playful, carrying a warmth she had come to trust. But now, facing the ethereal and the dragon lord before them, that warmth and humour disappeared as though she had only dreamt of such a thing. He spoke with authority and pride. He spoke as a dragon lord, with all the status, responsibility, and privilege the title bestowed. His proud posture, unwavering eyes, and commanding voice made it clear that he was addressing equals, not superiors.
"Iris,"
Darkwood continued, gesturing towards her,
"was the one who saw her light, flickering and weak, as we approached. She insisted that we stop to investigate."
His voice softened.
"And that is where we found her. Weak, hungry, and injured, fleeing from Siderius, the magistrate of the Stygian Reach. And that is all we know."
You are listening to The Sleeping Dragon, a Starfall Rest story. Created by Benign Chaos. Discover more magic at starfallrest.com. Chapter 8. Chrysola and Morath regarded Iris in silence. The weight of their attention, the weight of their status, pressed upon her like the bite of a direwolf's unrelenting stare. Instinct took hold, and, unaware of her actions, Iris stepped towards Lord Darkwood in silent retreat, finding refuge as she pressed her back against his chest. She felt Lord Darkwood grasp her arm, his touch gentle and steady. She longed to disappear into the safety of Lord Darkwood's shadow, into the smouldering warmth of his presence. She wished he would wrap his protective arm around her again, as he had the night before at the Horse and Wheel, when they had faced Siderius. But her heart called after Crystal Song. She could not abandon the child, who still needed her help.
May I go with Crystal Song?
Her voice wavered, soft and uncertain, a stark contrast to Lord Darkwood's firm and resonant tones.
I would like to help, in any way that I can.
Chrysola studied the two weary and oddly matched, travellers before her. It was unheard of for a witch queen to journey without attendance or formality, and yet here one stood, curling instinctively into the protection of a dragon lord who guarded her as though she were his own. But Chrysola had no time for riddles or half-formed threads. Her only concern was for the child. She turned to one of the remaining warriors and gave a curt nod. The warrior stepped forward, inclining her head for Iris to follow. With a deep breath, Iris left the safety of Darkwood's presence and followed the ethereal across the platform. Moving swiftly, her long silver-white hair flowed in the chill mountain wind, a moonlit river in the darkening evening. As Chrysola watched her disappear into the eyrie, she mused.
A moon priestess, outside the citadel.
She turned to look at Darkwood with sharp eyes.
You have your own problems.
Yes.
Darkwood mumbled.
Yes, I do.
Morath's gaze lingered on the shadowed archway where Iris had vanished, a frown on his face and his brow furrowed. He seemed confused, or perhaps sad. His expression was a tangle of emotions that Darkwood could not unravel.
Do you know her?
Darkwood asked, breaking the silence. Morath turned, his face settling into an unreadable mask.
I know of her,
he replied, his voice flat.
How is it that she is not sequestered with her sisters at the citadel?
Darkwood asked. Morath hesitated, studying Darkwood for a moment before answering.
by design.
Before Darkwood could press further, Morath turned away, addressing Chrysola.
Where's Taliath?
He asked.
If we are to question or accuse a magistrate, she's best suited for the task.
She and her flight are mounting a clandestine raid on Wraithholm. She will not return for weeks.
Chrysola cast her gaze over the mountains, tapping a finger impatiently against her leg. Silence stretched between them. Then, with an exasperated sigh, she murmured,
Only fools and madmen think they can outwit fate.
She straightened, her voice sharpening once more as she turned her attention to Morath.
This cannot wait. I will see to this myself. Morath.
Morath inclined his head.
Whatever you require, mistress.
Chrysola dipped her chin in gratitude, her tone softening.
Thank you, friend.
Their bond was one forged through hardship, strengthened by years of trust.
We must speak with... What is her name?
She asked Darkwood.
Crystal Song.
He replied. The name gave Chrysola pause. As Starfallen, leader of the Ethereals, she knew most of her kin. But this name, it was unknown to her.
I must speak with the child,
she said, more to herself than to anyone. Without another word, she turned and strode from the platform, her wings shifting in agitation as she disappeared into the eyrie. Darkwood and Morath followed in solemn silence. When they reached the infirmary, the attendant ethereal at the door blocked Chrysola's path with a respectful bow.
I'm sorry, mistress. Dr. Alaris will soon tend to her wing. None are allowed in.
Chrysola's expression remained composed, but there was a weight to her words.
When may I speak to Crystal Song?
Not until tomorrow, mistress. Dr. Alaris has given her a heavy sleeping draught. She will not wake till the morrow.
And where is the Moon Priestess?
As Chrysola spoke, Dr. Alaris entered the room from behind, moving toward the very door her assistant barred.
Mistress?
Dr. Alaris greeted Chrysola as she joined them.
To answer your question, the Moon Priestess is inside the operating room. She insisted on staying, though I told her there was nothing she could do. She would not be turned away. She settled into a corner and became still as stone. And not 5 minutes later...
Alaris hesitated, as though grasping at something just beyond the reach of words.
I do not know how to describe it. A peace settled over the room, like the softness of moonlight over a meadow. All worry, all doubt, all fear just melted away, as though carried off on a summer breeze. And suddenly I knew, with a certainty beyond words, a certainty beyond experience, that healing the girl's wing will not only succeed, but will be no more than a trifle.
She shook her head, as though still marvelling at it.
She is powerful, that one. And she is allowed to stay in my operating room while I work.
With that, Dr. Alaris turned on her heel and disappeared through the prohibited door. Chrysola was silent, her gaze lowered in thought. Morath stood at her side, his expression closed as he waited patiently. Darkwood, however, saw his opportunity.
What was your meaning earlier?
He pressed Morath.
When you said, by design.
Morath did not answer. Darkwood, a veteran of court, felt the subtle shift in tension and power dynamics the moment it happened, the moment Morath's fiery gaze turned from observation to judgment. It seemed Darkwood had challenged Morath somehow, his unwelcome question bringing Morath to guard. There was a secret buried in the fire of Morath's silence. Darkwood's gaze never wavered as the older dragon measured him with all the consequence that comes with time and power. Whatever Morath concluded, it did not show on his face.
What is she to you?
He asked. Darkwood's reply was steady.
I am her escort. The moon goddess sent me to deliver her to Ebon Keep.
The moon goddess summons her.
Morath's guarded mask faltered for the briefest moment as an emotional shadow flickered across his face, vanishing before it could be named.
And what is her business at Ebon Keep?
I do not know.
Darkwood admitted.
I am no more than an escort.
Morath,
Chrysola interrupted.
I would have your counsel.
At your service, mistress.
Morath replied, with a slight bow. Then his voice became grim as his eyes darkened.
Darius is...
He hesitated, searching for the right word, for the man was many things. Contemptible, powerful, cruel.
Not without influence. This must be handled with care.
Chrysola frowned.
Yes, he wields many levers of power, not the least of which is the prince he holds in his pocket. Without undeniable proof of his involvement, any accusation will crumble, or worse.
She exhaled sharply, flexing her wings before settling them once more.
Until we uncover this dark mystery, this does not leave the Eyrie.
She turned to Darkwood.
I would appreciate your discretion in this matter.
Darkwood inclined his head.
As you command, Starfallen.
Morath,
she said, turning to her friend.
I would speak with you, privately.
Morath nodded, but before following, he turned to Darkwood one last time.
As for your earlier question, Lord Darkwood.
He paused. When he spoke, all pretense had fallen away.
I beg of you, do not seek the answer. You will find only pain.
Without another word, he turned to Chrysalla and motioned for her to lead the way. Before leaving, Chrysalla glanced back.
You are spent, Lord Darkwood. Sleep tonight at the Eyrie and continue your journey tomorrow. Before you leave tomorrow, I would know the story of how you came upon Crystal Song, all details, from beginning to end. But tonight, sleep. I shall send someone to attend you and your moon priestess.
She's not my...
Darkwood began, but Chrysalla had already turned, striding off with Morath.
She's not my priestess.
Darkwood said softly, as he watched their figures disappear down the dim corridor. He exhaled and leaned against the cold stone wall, running a weary hand through his hair. Alone now, he let himself sink to the floor as the weight of the journey settled over him in a single, silent note, his head bowed and elbows resting on his knees. As steward of Darkwood Valley, he had been raised from boyhood to carry the burden of leadership, to bear the weight of responsibility, strength, duty, endurance. These were all his companions, both his joy and his sorrow. And, truth be told, he liked being the strong one, the steady one, the one who saw things through. It suited him. It always had. But now, with none to see and no role to perform, he let the stoic walls fall. Just for a breath, he sat in the hush of a dark, empty room, exhausted, and with the quiet ache of loneliness beating in his heart. When the surgery was over, Crystal Song was moved to a quiet recovery room. A window, carved into the rock of the mountain, framed a view of the thin, cold night sky, a waxing moon rising into its starry abyss. A single candle flickered beside the bed where Crystal Song lay sleeping, its warm fire casting soft shadows across the stone walls. This is where Darkwood found Iris, sitting on a chair beside Crystal Song's bed, holding the young ethereal's hand. He crossed the small room to Iris's side. Crystal Song, though thin and wan, looked peaceful in the hush of the moonlit room.
She will recover,
Darkwood said softly, his voice stripped of rank and command. In this quiet moment, he was not a dragon lord, conscripting the attention of his peers. He was a friend, seeking to ease the suffering of his companion.
She is safe with her sisters now.
She is so little,
Iris said, quietly, her voice breaking as she spoke.
so very little. How can one so young know such evil?
Darkwood put a hand on her shoulder, steady and warm. He did not have an answer for her. For how does one tell a lamb that sheep are slaughtered?
Have you known such pain, Lord Darkwood?
She asked. Darkwood hesitated. He was a proud and private man, unaccustomed to revealing such things. At last he said,
Many know pain, Iris. You have led an extraordinary life because it has been so ordinary.
She turned to look up at him, and in the dim blue light of the moon and the flickering gold of the candlelight, he could see her tear-stained cheeks. And he knew at that moment that he could not, that he would not, leave her alone to navigate the dangerous politics of Ebon Keep by herself.